Now, when we look at transfer pricing documentation, this is going to be one of the most important compliances for companies which are engaged in transactions with connected person and associated enterprises. Associated enterprises or related enterprises as they are called. So what happens is whenever there's a transaction with a connected person or a related party, the question that always comes up is, in case of income, is the income understated? In case of expenses, are they overstated? Both these situations may result in lower taxable profits in the UAE and therefore erosion of the tax base. To prove that the transactions with the related party or connected person, as the case may be, are meeting the arm's length criteria, that is, they are entered into at prices which are basically in line with what independent parties would have charged in a similar transaction, a transfer pricing documentation is required to be maintained globally. Now, Article 55 of the UAE Corporate Tax Law deals with transfer pricing documentation. And what it says is that the FTA may require a person to file along with the tax return details of transactions with the related parties and connected person. So when you file your tax return, then you may be required to file transactions with related parties and connected person. Generally, globally, this is done in the form of a separate certificate or a separate declaration. But maybe, one would need to look out what the tax form might actually state in the respect of the UAE Corporate Tax Law. Second is it must maintain a master file and a local file. But when? If the transaction meet the prescribed criteria. So if the taxpayer says that the prescribed criteria of arm's length is something that has been met, then in that case, they are required to maintain both the master file and a local file. Now, there are detailed guidelines in terms of what a master file is, what a local file is, but for the purpose of this particular slide, we are not discussing that right now. Master file and local file must be submitted within 30 days following a request from the authority. So the requirement is when you file the statement or declaration along with the tax return, you should have a master file and a local file in place. This can be requested for by the tax authorities. However, the time limit for submitting them once the authority asks is 30 days from the date of request. In addition to this, once this master file and local file is given, the authority are within their rights or have the option to seek more information in support of arm's length nature of the transaction or arrangement within 30 days from the request that they make. In other words, if I have to just simplify this, when you file your tax return, file the details of transactions with related party and connected person. If you feel they meet the arm's length criteria, then you have to maintain both a master file and a local file, right? The master file and local file can be asked for by the tax authorities, but they have to be submitted within 30 days from the request made. Once the master file and local file are submitted, the authorities can also seek further supportive information regard to the arm's length nature of the transaction. Let's move on to the next slide then.